Spoiler alert. The following will contain spoilers for X-Men 97. All right, Emmanuel Noisette from Eman's Movie Reviews and the movieblog.com. Emmy, Chase, how are y'all doing today?
Doing
Oh,
great.
we're wonderful,
Yeah.
especially after yesterday. Woo!
Let's
Just
talk about that. Let's talk about that.
bathing in tears right now. It's
Listen, because
wonderful.
clearly you guys were doing some work and we have to talk about that. So, Emmy, I believe you directed episode 5, right?
Yeah.
Okay. How did you approach, and this is coming from the fans, this is a question from the fans. How did you approach directing such emotional scenes like that? Like unaliving Magneto, my boy Gambit, and furthermore, how dare you? Go.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, it has to be earned. That was the major thing that I felt like, you can't just throw away lives. And that's the whole point of X-Men is giving validity and value to everybody and that everybody has a place in the world and rightly so. So I never wanted it to feel like it was cannon fodder just to make people cry. It was always going to be how can we earn this the best way possible and how can we then try and get people to forgive us.
Mhm.
Interesting. Okay, so Chase,
Mhm.
you were dealing with my girl Storm. Okay,
Mhm.
now I was getting very emotional, when she couldn't feel the weather and
Yeah.
all of that. How did you approach dealing, with something so critical to her character? What was your approach in like making sure we also felt that?
Well, you just want to kind of go through the motions of like if the one thing that you did, you spent your entire life knowing
Mm.
that your entire identity is wrapped up in, how would that affect you if that was gone today?
Mm.
Much in the way that if you were to lose your hearing suddenly and you were and how would that affect you? What would you go through? Like, and how dark would you go? How far would you spiral? Right before you decide, like, I'm going to lay in this or I'm going to try to pull myself out of it. And I
Mm.
think that for Storm, essentially, the key is that she's always been looked at as a goddess. Everybody in the Marvel universe, I should say, excuse me, refers to her as a goddess because she's Omega level. She's one of the first Omega level mutants. The entire continent of Africa thinks of her as a goddess. So what does that feel like whenever that's ripped away from you?
Mhm.
So it is tragic, it is sad, but it's also something that we can relate to as people because I think there's a lesson in that. And that's the main thing that we want to explore. A lot of times we don't try to answer questions, we try to just ask them and let the audience. I think that's just good storytelling. Let the audience kind of come to their own conclusions as to what is good and what is bad, as what is the right choice. But to me, that is an essential Storm story that adds strength to her character, so that you can see that she's not just these powers, that she has strength of will as well.
No, I love it. And by the way, I love the multiple mentions of how she was a goddess throughout this series. So thank you
Mhm,
for that.
mhm, mhm.
Back to Emmy. So you also had the tough task, I think, of juggling this complex relationship between Cyclops, Jean, and Wolverine. Can you like what is happening here? Like where are we going with this? Because I'm getting a lot of mixed signals. I don't know if Jean actually loves Logan. I don't know. Cyclops got a whole psychic affair going on. What was your approach with that whole soap opera?
Oh, I just wanted so much soap opera out of it. That's I wish that they would just come to terms with the fact that they're going to be a throuple, right? Like there's always going to be a Wolverine in their life. Just get over it already, right?
Yeah.
But I think what I like about that moment, and it was something that we really worked closely with the writers on, was it's a vulnerable moment for both Jean and Wolverine. And I love that Jean, or actually that Wolverine catches her on it. And when he says, I know that you're just confused. You're still figuring out who you are. You just got back. The story is you and Scott. If you're gonna kiss me, I gotta earn that on my own. Like it's got to be then
Mhm.
us, right? So I think it was just I always want to be able to show that our characters aren't just how they're singularly defined. Like they're not just superheroes, but they're also people. And I love that we can show that depth to Wolverine, that he can have also the emotional maturity to say, I know that this isn't you right now, so you should just go talk to your dude and just don't drown me in this lake, please. So
Love it, love it. So Chase, one thing with Magneto's character He has been, I've always told my audience that he's like Batman. He is just driven by his childhood trauma in whatever direction he goes in. What is your thought process on his development so far, from going from this evil villain to now this reluctant hero potentially? How are you kind of looking at his character?
I think that when you are truly trying to do good for people, like you are, there's the aspect of Magneto that I identify with the most is like the righteous indignation. And I feel like he absolutely is justified to do whatever he chooses because of the way the mutants have been persecuted throughout, right? And we see a lot of the allegory and what that is. But I I think that when you are trying to do good, there's a core part of you that doesn't want to be looked at as a villain all the time. So I think he's exploring that avenue of like, let me change this image of myself, at least so that I am kind of, maybe I can try to sway these people. And also he's trying to honor his friend's last wish, right? Which I think is, it shows you just how important his relationship with Xavier is, and the fact that he's willing to temper that righteous indignation to like, I'll just slap you instead of kill you this time. You know what I mean? That way that you can try to do better and give people an opportunity. And so, even though he, in his heart of hearts, I think he feels as if like it's only a matter of time, but I'm going to try this for my friend and I'm trying to be an example. So I think that it's just interesting to try to follow, because I identify with a lot of his choices. I've always loved his character, and I think that they are both two sides of the same coin. And we've seen that reflected in history, where people take different approaches and their ideologies as to how to solve the same problem. It's just interesting to see him try the other side for once, and to see how that shoe fits, and then fight against your actual nature. How long can you repress what you truly feel? And can you transcend your current station emotionally?
Great. And I totally agree with you on that. Emmy, question for you was, when I know that Magneto and Rogue, they have the whole touching thing, and that helps to some degree. But and I guess this is more of a geeky question. Did you ever interpret it as she could also take on some of his feelings, since she is such an empath?
That's interesting. I hadn't seen it that way, but that is kind of reflective in when she's talking about how they broke up, with that couldn't face, his demons and mine. I think that there's a lot there that can be said for, is she picking up, other versions of his personality that is not necessarily beneficial for either of them.
Mm.
So I love that depth, because that, you're right, that's a very good point. Like, it's not just the touch of it.
Okay. And this was something I saw people debating online. That was the Watcher that we saw, right?
It was.
Okay. Because some people were saying Cassandra Nova, and I'm like, I didn't know she was in the sky. I thought it was just the Watcher, but I wanted to clear that up. Okay, so Chase, with Storm's character, and clearly the journey that she's on, especially with the upcoming episode. I know some people missed the owl. I caught the owl. I caught the owl.
You peeped that? Oh,
I peeped the owl.
Okay.
The owl, but I love the subtlety of
Thank
just
you.
dropping it in there. So great on that. Is there anything we should be paying attention to in the upcoming episode for her specifically?
I think we're really just clocking her descent into madness, so to speak. I wouldn't necessarily call it madness, but we're just kind of clocking her being pushed to the point that, do I want to give up? Like, is this a reality that I want to live? Do I want to continue to be this? And I've been knocked down a peg. Can I live as a normal person? Like, can I live without my amenities? Like my ability to just make it rain whenever I want to. Can I do that? Do I want to be scared of thunder from now on? Because I think that's a good question. So no, I think that we should just pay attention to that. I don't want to give too much away as far as anything goes. That's all I'm gonna say.
That's fine. That's all right. Just to wrap up, last question here. Do you guys have anything that you're excited for us to see as the audience?
Oh yes.
Yeah, everything.
I mean, I wish we could go. Let's just say that was just episode 5.
Yeah, everything. And it's cool. We love to continue to scale because that's something that we can do in animation, in greater capacities, at a substantial clip, right? So that's just the power of the medium and why we love animation so much. So we're just looking forward to seeing how everybody else continues to react as we, play with your, tug on your heartstrings and cut some of them.
All right. Well, thank you both so much. I
Thank you.
appreciate you. I'm still recovering from the emotional damage, but my goodness, I am looking forward to everything that you guys have stored for us. But thank you so much for your time.
Thank you
Thank
as
you.
well.
Appreciate it.
If you're new here and you like what you see, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and don't forget to hit that bell so you don't miss out the next time I drop a video. I've got more videos and reviews to do for you all, and until next time, I'll see you all later.